Oldsmobile built one of the most powerful V8 engines of the muscle car era, then did something so insane it killed an entire car line. They made it pull from the front. In 1968, Oldsmobile's Toronado packed a 455 cubic inch rocket V8, pumping out 375 horsepower and 510 pound-feet of torque. This was the same basic engine that turned the 442 into a quarter-mile assassin. Same forged steel crank, same high-compression pistons, same massive valves flowing insane amounts of fuel and air. But instead of sending all that brutal torque to the rear wheels where physics said it belonged, Oldsmobile engineers routed it through the front wheels. 400 horses trying to pull 4,400 pounds of Detroit iron through two front tires. While Pontiac was building the GTO, while Chevrolet was unleashing the Chevelle SS, while Dodge was creating the Charger RT, all rear-wheel drive monsters that could plant their power and launch, Oldsmobile was asking their customers to experience something they'd never felt before. Torque steer so violent it could rip the steering wheel from your hands at full throttle. The Toronado wasn't supposed to fail. When Oldsmobile unveiled it in 1966, they called it the most advanced automobile in the world. The advertising promised the car of tomorrow, today. General Motors had spent over $100 million developing the Unified Powerplant Package. That's nearly $1 billion in today's money. They were so confident in their front-wheel drive revolution that they planned to convert half their lineup to this system by 1975. But the numbers tell a different story. In 1966, Oldsmobile sold 40,963 Toronados. Sounds decent until you realize the Buick Riviera, built on the same E-body platform but with proper rear-wheel drive, sold 45,348 units that same year. By 1970, Toronado sales had crashed to just 25,000 units, while the Riviera kept climbing. Something was seriously wrong. Here's what Oldsmobile never told you in those beautiful advertisements. That revolutionary front-wheel drive system added 300 pounds over the front axle compared to a rear drive car. Take a vehicle that already weighed 2 tons, concentrate most of that weight over the front wheels, then ask those same wheels to both steer and deliver 510 pound-feet of torque to the pavement. The physics were doomed from the start. Car and Driver tested a 1968 Toronado with the 455 engine. 0 to 60 took 8.5 seconds. Not terrible for 1968, except the Oldsmobile 442 with the same engine did it in 6.5 seconds. The quarter mile, 16.5 seconds at 85 miles per hour in the Toronado. The 442 ran 14.8 at 95. Same engine, same power, completely different results. The difference, one car could plant its power, the other couldn't. But straight-line performance was only part of the problem. Oldsmobile's own internal testing revealed something they tried desperately to hide. Under hard acceleration, the Toronado's front end would literally lift, reducing the contact patch of those overworked front tires even further. Engineers called it acceleration squat in reverse. While every other muscle car was squatting down on its rear haunches and hooking up, the Toronado was lifting its drive wheels off the ground. The transmission made everything worse. The Turbo-Hydramatic 425 was essentially a modified TH400 turned sideways and connected to a massive chain drive system. That chain alone weighed 38 pounds and required special high-pressure lubrication to survive. When that 455 engine hit its torque peak at 3,200 RPM, the chain would stretch, the planetary gears would flex, and power delivery became a suggestion rather than a command. GM's own warranty records paint a brutal picture. The average Toronado transmission lasted 38,000 miles before requiring a complete rebuild. The chain drive system was so complex that most transmission shops refused to work on them. A rebuild cost $1,800 in 1970. That's $13,000 in today's money. For context, you could buy a brand new Plymouth Duster for $2,500. The tire situation was a nightmare Oldsmobile never saw coming. In 1968, front-wheel drive performance tires didn't exist. Nobody made them because nobody needed them. The Toronado was running bias-ply tires designed for station wagons, trying to handle sports car power. Owners reported replacing front tires every 8,000 miles. Not because of normal wear, because the torque steer and wheel spin would literally tear the belts apart from the inside. Oldsmobile tried fixing it. For 1969, they stiffened the front suspension, added a larger anti-roll bar, and redesigned the steering geometry. It didn't work. For 1970, they made the 455 standard, thinking more power would help sales. It made the torque steer worse. For 1971, they lowered compression and reduced horsepower, defeating the entire point of having a big block engine. The racing world delivered the final verdict. While Dodge Chargers dominated NASCAR, while Chevelles ruled the drag strips, while GTOs owned the streets, not a single Toronado ever won a professional race. Not one. Hot Rod magazine tried building a drag race Toronado in 1969. After burning through 3 transmissions and 2 sets of half shafts, they gave up and called it an exercise in expensive futility. But here's the part that really stings. In 1973, General Motors built a rear-wheel drive luxury car on a shortened E-body platform. They called it the Chevrolet Monte Carlo. It used a traditional layout, a normal TH400 transmission, and conventional rear-wheel drive. With the 454 big block, it was everything the Toronado should have been. First-year sales, 290,693 units. That's more than the Toronado sold in its entire first generation combined. The most damning evidence came from Oldsmobile's own dealers. In 1972, Bob Adams' Oldsmobile in Phoenix commissioned a custom Toronado converted to rear-wheel drive. They installed a standard TH400, fabricated a drive shaft tunnel, and mounted a cutlass rear end. The result? 0 to 60 dropped by 1.8 seconds. Quarter-mile times improved by almost 2 full seconds. The torque steer vanished. Customers lined up to order them, but GM threatened to pull the dealership's franchise if they continued. Today, the Toronado is remembered as a beautiful failure. Those swooping lines penned by David North still look gorgeous. The hidden headlights, the muscular haunches, the aircraft-inspired interior, it all screamed performance. But performance is more than looks and horsepower numbers on paper. It's about putting power to the ground, and that's exactly what the Toronado couldn't do. Modern hot rodders have figured out what GM couldn't or wouldn't. There's now a cottage industry of shops that specialize in Toronado rear-wheel drive conversions. Demonic Speed Shop in Texas has converted over 50 Toronados to rear drive. They report an average of 200 additional horsepower to the ground after conversion, simply from eliminating the parasitic loss of that complex front drive system. The conversion costs about $15,000, but owners say it transforms the car from a beautiful curiosity into an actual muscle car. The cruel irony? Oldsmobile's front-wheel drive technology eventually found its perfect application, not in a performance car, but in the GMC Motorhome. That same Unified Powerplant Package that failed in the Toronado became legendary in a 26-foot RV where traction and interior space mattered more than quarter-mile times. Even today, those GMC Motorhomes are coveted, selling for 6 figures when restored. Jay Leno owns 3 of them and calls the drivetrain bulletproof when used correctly. Oldsmobile killed the Toronado in 1992, ending a 26-year run of confused identity. It never figured out what it wanted to be. Too heavy to be a sports car, too complex to be reliable, too wrong-wheel drive to be a proper muscle car. The final insult? When Cadillac brought back rear-wheel drive performance with the CTS-V, they used the tagline, "No more wrong-wheel drive." Everyone knew exactly what they meant. The Toronado proved something important. You can have all the power in the world, the most advanced technology, the biggest development budget, but if you send that power to the wrong wheels, you're building backwards. Physics doesn't care about innovation. It cares about traction, and 455 cubic inches of American thunder needs to push, not pull. Oldsmobile learned that lesson the hard way. $400 million and 386,029 disappointed customers later, they finally admitted what every drag racer could have told them for free. Big power belongs in the back.